Hi everybody, it's Nina Concepcion here. Thank you so much for hopping on, and let me know that you're there. Let me know that you're watching the replay. I love knowing who's on and who's watching. So as you guys know, I'm having my book published very, very soon. It's called The Naked You: A Guide to Living Authentically in Life and Business. So this is the origin story as to where the book came from, how it all began. So when I was about 10, I started having these recurring dreams. And for a while, I really thought it was just a dream. And it started to become more vivid. It started to become more frequent. And then I realized that it wasn't actually a dream and that it was a memory that I had suppressed from my memory. I had actually blocked it out of my memory because it was too painful for me to think about and to remember. And so when I had come to the realization that I was sexually abused as a little girl, as you can imagine, it was a lot to take on board and a lot to just process, right? It took me a really long time to process, and I tried suppressing that for a really long time. And it was through being able to express that and share that with the people who I love, share it with my family, that I was finally able to start healing from that. So let's fast forward now a few years later. I was working in real estate. I was straight out of university. So I was about 21 when I was at real estate. And so when I was in real estate, I remember just really wanting that success. I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm out of control of my life again. I don't want to feel like this is worth nothing. I don't want to feel like I'm alone. I don't want to feel like being here was a waste of my time. And I remember when I fell into depression, when I had first figured out what had happened to me, I didn't want to live anymore. I didn't know what the purpose was of me being here. And so I spent a lot of my life looking for how can I make my life meaningful. And so when I fell into real estate, I was really going after that success. And I was really going after, wanting to make a name for myself and wanting to have an amazing life. But really, if I was super honest with myself, what I was really craving and what I was really seeking was that connection, was that ability to be myself and to be able to express that in a safe way, to be able to feel like I'm living my life. Because when I was falling into depression and before I found real estate, I was like, I don't feel like I'm living my life. Like, I don't know if this is the life that I want to live. So when I was in real estate, I was really, really pursuing that, and I started getting, some really good results. I started making a lot of commission. I started getting referrals. I started becoming quite successful in the eyes of real estate. And then my boss asked me a question that completely changed my life forever. I was sitting there speaking to him, and I thought I was like the best, right? Well, not the best, but I thought I was pretty good. I had a bit of an ego, and I was like, I'm doing pretty well. And he goes to me, you could be doing much better. And I was like, okay. I idolized him, and I learned so much from him. So of course I was always going to listen to what he had to say. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you're holding back. He's like, where in your life are you holding back? He was my first ever mentor, my first ever coach. And I said, I'm not holding back anywhere. And he's like, where are you holding back? And he literally just stared at me until I gave him an answer. He wouldn't take, I don't know, as an answer. And so we sat there for a few minutes, and I literally just thought. And what's really interesting is when you think about something long enough, if you think you don't know the answer will pop up. It's just about whether or not we decide and have the courage to actually acknowledge it, right? So I was like, well, I guess if there's anywhere in my life where I'm holding back, it's probably being in a relationship. But I've chosen to do that. I don't want to be in a relationship right now. And I've forgiven my ex for everything that has happened. But yeah, that's maybe the only thing I can think of. And then he looked at me and he said, have you forgiven yourself? And I remember I felt like I just hit a wall. Like, I remember sitting there and then just instantly crying. I'm sitting there at our office where anyone can walk in, any clients, any colleagues, like our staff was around, and I'm just sitting there like bawling my eyes out for like a good 10 minutes. And I'm just sitting there bawling my eyes out. And while I was crying, I realized that I hadn't even considered or even thought about the fact that I needed to forgive myself. And I realized that I had blamed myself for what I had gone through. I blamed myself for being open. I blamed myself for letting him in. I blamed myself for being vulnerable. And I've since then, I had, especially since what happened to me as a child, I'd perceived vulnerability as a weakness. And it wasn't until that point that I realized that my ex never saw me break. He never saw me vulnerable. He never saw me hurt after everything that had happened. And I realized that I needed to actually express it to him. Not for him, but the one person I was trying to protect was the one person I was hurting the most, which was me. I was holding on to resentment. I was holding on to that pain, and I needed to get closure, and I needed to speak to him and share with him how I was feeling and what it did to me, for me, not for him, regardless of what he would say, regardless of the response that I was going to get from him. I needed to do it for me. And so the funny thing is, after that, I obviously confronted him, and I literally felt like the biggest weight off my shoulders. Like physically, I felt so much lighter, and I cried a lot, but I was so happy that I spoke to him. I wasn't expecting an apology, but he apologized, and it was an incredibly healing experience. And this was like 5-6 years after we had broken up. So don't think that it's impossible just because time had gone by. And so what happened next was, it was funny because almost instantly, I feel like almost instantly, my results in real estate skyrocketed again. I started doing even better. I became sales executive and 2IC in the company. Me and my boss were looking at opening up an office together. And so literally, like, I was on track. I felt like I was doing everything I needed to do. What I hadn't realized, though, is that I was sacrificing other areas of my life. I was sacrificing my relationships, and I was sacrificing just balance. And I loved what I did at the time, and I learned so much from it. But it was after I saw the amazing Brendon Burchard that I realized that I have so much more to offer. I realized that I'm here to do more than just help people buy and sell homes and investments. I'm here to empower people to think a different way, because at the end of the day, that's what sales is, and that's what coaching is. I was already doing that in real estate, but I wanted to do it in a more fulfilling and deep way. And so when I had the realization, I'm like, I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to be a speaker, I'm going to write my book. It was going to be a 5-year plan. I was on my way to becoming financially free. I was about to buy my second property. I was saving up to my second property. I was opening up my own office, and it was literally a 5-year plan. But what had happened after that is I literally started to feel like I was dying inside, because when we outgrow where we currently are and we have another vision for ourselves, it's really difficult to stay in the container of where we are. I realized that real estate was amazing for me at the time, and I loved it at the time, but it no longer served me, and I was ready for that next level. I was ready to express myself to a different degree, and to be more and serve more and to share more with who I am. And Brendon really opened up my eyes to that. And it wasn't until a few years later that I was at another personal development event, and I had a vision that my book was going to be called The Naked You, and that I was going to be naked on the front cover. And the reason that I'm naked on the front cover is because it's a metaphor for vulnerability. When I went into coaching and I became a coach and I started doing speaking engagements, and I'm now getting my book published, when I was doing all those things, a lot of my success came from me being vulnerable, similar to as it did in real estate. So it's not just, success. There's a car. It's not just success in the sense of the traditional sense of, the money, the leads, the sales, but what this has actually brought for me, being vulnerable, what it's actually brought for me is me feeling like myself, me feeling like my life is worth living, me feeling like I'm here for a reason. And everything that I have experienced in the past, and all the pain and all the struggle that I had gone through, wasn't for nothing. And I'm able to use that and grab the lessons from it and share with others the lessons that I grabbed for it, so that you can see for you, where are the lessons in your life, where are the the struggles and the pains in your life that have happened not to you but for you, because I truly believe that I would not be the person that I am today if it wasn't for everything that had happened. I would not be as strong-minded. I would not be so unwilling to give in to peer pressure. I would be so unwilling to stand my ground if I had not had that tough lesson at such a young age. And as much as it was really difficult at the time, I'm grateful for it. And I discuss all of this stuff in the book in detail. I can't even describe how many times I've cried writing my book. But the purpose of this book is really to share with anybody who's interested how I've been able to live my life and grow my business being myself and being vulnerable, and how being vulnerable has been the key to not just connecting with myself and connecting with what's right for me and living the life that I desire, but also being able to have some of the most amazing relationships that I would not have attracted and manifested into my life if it wasn't for me first being vulnerable with myself. And the hope and the vision and the promise that I have for you guys with my book is not so that you can go do exactly what I'm doing. It's so that you can get clear on, I'm going to give you the tools and what I did and a system and a pathway so that you guys can get clear on what's right for you, what's your right path, what's your story, what's your message, because we are all so incredibly unique. And like I said, what has happened to us has happened for us. So please just know that what is right for someone else may not be right for you. What is right for me may not be right for you. You know what's right for you. And it's about getting clearer and honest, hi love, with what it is that, what does that mean to you? What is that to you? And to not be persuaded and, hi Scott, and to not be, don't fall into other people's plans of what's right for you. It's about trusting that inner voice. And so that's what the entire book, The Naked You, is all about. It's about you getting clearer on what it means to be you, living an authentic life and building a business which is right for you. Because at the end of the day, I know that I attract some of the most amazing people into my field, and the people who I know are going to read this book do have something special to offer. And you probably already know what that is, or maybe you're just starting to discover it, or maybe you're seeking it, but I know that it is already there. And so it's about figuring out how to fast track you getting out there and sharing your message and being you in the process, because that's how you're going to attract your tribe. That's how you're going to make the biggest difference. No one can be you. So the best thing you can do is be yourself. If you guys want more details, I am going to be doing a release very, very, very soon. But comment down below and just say, yes, please, just to be super clear to me. So I'll make sure that I keep you updated as soon as that's gone live, and I'm doing my pre-orders and pre-launch. But I'm very, very excited, and I really want to thank you guys so, so much for being here and supporting me and my message, and just know that you also have such a unique, special message, and to remember that and to embrace that. As always, guys, be seen, be heard, and be you. Mwah.